I was like, well, I want to be on camera, so okay, I'll just put myself on camera. All right, well, how do I do that? Let's Google it. How do I use Adobe Premiere? Let's find out.
Hi, welcome to See You Live. My name is Walker Evans. I'm the co-founder of Columbus Underground. Joining me today is Jess Brohard, a eSports host, streamer, and gamer.
Yep.
Jess, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm a Columbus native. I've grew up in the Westerville area, and I've been around Columbus for most of my life. So it's like I've obviously known what Columbus Underground was for a while, and it's very cool to be here.
Nice, nice. Well, just right out of the gate, just to get things started, what is an esports host? Because I'm sure that is a term that not everybody is super familiar with.
Definitely. So I don't want to be like talking down to anybody, but I am going to start with esports and what esports is, in case anybody is stumbling across this and has no idea. Esports is competitive gaming. So, and then as an esports host, that can cover a wide range of things like I've worked as a stage host as well as a desk host, and the difference there primarily is, you're up on a stage versus seated at a desk with some other analysts. Like if you're on a stage, you're typically, what I've done a lot of is interviewing the pro players. So after a win, I'll go up on stage and, how did that victory feel? All right, next up you're playing Dignitas, are you nervous about that kind of thing? And I don't use the goofy voice like I did just now, but basically covers any sort of on-air talent for like a competitive gaming broadcast.
Cool. How much do you need to like heighten your personality and your well for those kinds of things?
That's a great question.
Is it you doing it, or are you some sort of like exaggerated version of yourself?
Well, it depends. It really depends on the event, because like as you can probably tell, like I'm an actually very high energy person. I think I've been described as bubbly quite a lot in my life, and so I think I sort of naturally had the personality type that kind of lends itself toward being like on-air talent. But with certain broadcasts, it just depends on the subject matter. Because like something like the Call of Duty World League is going to be a little bit of a different nature than like a more casual. Because I've done some really fun I hosted the Pokemon World Championships in 2014, I think, and like the Tetris World Championships in I think that was October 2015 maybe. So I've done like all variety of stuff, and like some stuff is a lot more casual than other stuff. So there's like some certain broadcasts where it has to be like, there's like maybe a brand activation or a sponsor read, or like when I was doing stuff, when I do stuff with Call of Duty back before times, before COVID, when we were actually there in person.
Right.
It was like branded by PlayStation. So we had to say, this was your PlayStation instant reaction. Back over to you guys at the desk. It was very like formal and corporate, and like, oh, it's, the men are wearing suits and stuff, and then other stuff it's a lot more laid back. So my personality kind of comes through a lot more on some events and broadcasts than on others. On others, I have to kind of tone it down. Right. Sometimes more than others.
Yeah. So fit the event.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned some of these back in 2013, 2014, and I think I saw you've been doing this for about 7 years. Is that true? Yeah. How did you first get started in this world? Because it doesn't seem like there's a clear career path to esports host.
Right. There now is becoming more of that clear path, but there wasn't like I was chatting with you guys a little bit before the cameras started rolling how I went to OSU. I was a computer science major, and I worked for a year. So in January 2011 I got a job with JP Chase, and I just worked there for a year until I think about March 2012 is when I finally was able to leave that job and go into the game industry full time. But all during that year, what I would do is I would go to Chase during the day and work, and then 3 times a week I would come home and shoot a little video out of my bedroom for YouTube. And I think I just called it like the gaming update, or I don't even remember. It was very low production value. I had like some basically, I didn't really know what I was doing.
But it sounds really entrepreneurial. Like you had to just do it yourself and figure it out.
Yeah. I was like, well, I want to be on camera. So, okay, I'll just put myself on camera. All right, well, how do I do that? Let's Google it. How do I use Adobe Premiere? Let's find out. I taught myself the basics and shot a crappy little video in front of a green screen, edited that, and kind of worked my way up from there. After I was doing that for about a year and a half, I was able to leave and get hired on for this like really small kind of gaming startup and be their full-time host. And then, sorry, I could go into lots of detail. I don't know how long this thing is going to end up being, but I could talk forever.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because it seems like any kind of communications related career, it's become more and more handy to have a really diverse range of skills. If you went into TV production, decades ago, you were either an editor, an on-air personality, a writer. They were very clear roles to that, but you coming into it being able to do video editing and actually talking like that probably has come in really handy to open a lot of opportunities.
Well, it really has. Oh, that's actually a really great point that you bring up, because like a lot of times I wish that I had majored in communications or something and like learned how to, and then kind of set myself up for a more traditional career path where, okay, you go sit behind a news desk and someone else maybe powders you down and then someone else squares up the camera shot and, films you and someone else puts your mic on. And with me doing it all myself, like I had to learn, obviously it's one of those jack of all trades, master of none. Like I'm not good at lighting. I'm not good at chroma keying. I'm not good at audio, but like I have a basic understanding of all of these things so that now when it comes time to like, when I stream on Twitch, like I know how to set up all my stuff. I didn't have to ask anyone. I know, kind of what generally is going to be good equipment. And then especially here in the age of COVID, like I've gotten so much remote work where it's like, okay, we're going to have someone like maybe remote into your desktop and help like figure some stuff out. But like, basically we're going to ship you a bunch of like lighting and camera stuff. You got to set it up yourself and then call us when you're ready kind of thing. Yeah. And like, I know how to do that. I already, because I've been equipped to do that by, learning it myself.
Nice. Let's go even further back. Usually when you talk to someone as passionate as you are about video games, it probably started in a much earlier age.
Yeah.
What was kind of like the first games that you fell in love with?
So yeah, I started on like, I was like a gamer from the minute I could walk basically because like I have an older sister and my dad has never said this, but I think he wishes he had at least one boy in there, because like he was, he's a classic nerd. He was electrical engineering. He's been a software developer his whole life. He was a gamer back in the 80s and everything. So I think he kind of wished he had like a son, but instead he got both of us. So, but it worked out because he taught us gaming. My sister kind of grew out of it, but like when we were both really little, he would play like Duck Hunt and Super Mario on the NES with us. And it was so fun because I remember like I have so many fond memories of gaming with my sister when like when the N64 came out, she and I pooled our allowance money. We bought a Nintendo 64, spent so much time playing Super Mario 64, the Kirby Crystal Shards, I think was the Kirby that was on N64. And and it was just, but then my sister kind of, like I said, grew out of it and I didn't. I was kind of a weird little introverted nerd. So I just like had games were my friends for my whole life. Right.
Nice. Well, along the way, you also got into streaming. You're on Twitch pretty regularly.
Yeah.
What was kind of the jumping into point for that? What got you into Twitch?
Yeah. Well, that's one of those things that nearly everyone I know, like all of my colleagues, I guess you could say, or everyone that I know who does the same thing as far as like on-camera hosting, talent for eSports broadcasts, almost all of them stream on Twitch as well. It's just kind of a natural thing because it's like, well, we already are on camera, we know how to do that. We already are playing games. We might as well be streaming it. And, then you can get partnered, you can make some money off of Twitch. And then also it's just kind of one of those things, like there's a lot as like being like, as an like esports talent, there's a lot that you have to do when you're not actively working in order to kind of keep up your brand and your image, and you have to kind of stay relevant. And it's obviously like a whole game you have to play. So, streaming is one of those things that feeds into all that.
Yeah. I've seen you play a little bit of various Call of Duty games.
Yeah.
I think some other casual games more recently.
Yeah. Yep.
What other things have you been really into
on
stream these days?
So lately I've been playing some Fall Guys because it's just like very, it's very casual. Anyone can get into it. And then even if you're like not a gamer, anyone can watch it and know like, okay, well you fell off the map. That's probably bad.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, your little guy is cheering going, Rear! That he's probably happy. He probably did something good. You gave him a crown. Okay, you won kind of thing.
A great example of a game where you're just a controller and you know how to jump, and that's really all you need to know how to do.
Exactly.
Just run and jump.
Yeah, exactly. There's also, so the other game that I've been playing a little bit of that is wildly popular. Have you heard of Among Us? Oh my gosh. It's so stressful because it's like, it pits, like, I have to actively remind myself while I'm playing that like, this is just in the game. Your friends don't hate you. They don't always think you're liars.
They're not going to eject you from a spaceship in real life.
Yeah, it gets brutal though. And like, it's very, as like an empath myself, it's very like, it's hard for me, but I force myself to do it because it's so fun.
Yeah.
But
for those that don't know, Among Us, I've described it as almost being like a board game or like a card game, like a complex board game that you play in like a game cafe.
It's like Secret Hitler almost.
Yes, yeah.
Is that? I would say that's a very common one. I know.
Secret Hitler.
Okay, good. I was like every nerd knows what Secret Hitler is, but then some like regular people don't always.
They're like, what, Hitler? You're playing Hitler games?
Yeah, and I'm like, let me explain. Yeah.
So multiple players. One or two are the bad guys. Basically,
I think you
everyone
can
else is the good
change.
guy.
Usually it's two, but I think you can change the settings to however many you want.
So the good guys are trying to complete jobs to win. The bad guys are trying to kill
off
everyone
the good guys,
sabotage to win, and so. It's a game where you've got to really debate your friends or the people you're playing with to figure out who's the winner. It's super fun.
It's so, and there's so much like metagaming that people do because like there's so much strategy. And it's really frustrating when you're kind of a newer player and you're playing with someone who's played a lot because they like really know what they're doing. But the thing is, it's crazy because it's like, it's not like regular games. It's social. It's like a complete, it's like social engineering. And it's if you're not good at lying, or if you don't lie a lot, like I have never lied. I'm not a liar. I don't lie about a lot of stuff. So it's really difficult for me.
Do you think this game would be as popular as it is right now if it weren't for COVID?
It's hard to say because I feel like yes, because you know what? I could see people maybe like, I'm sure COVID helped. I think COVID definitely helped.
It's a way to reconnect with friends and have a bonding experience online.
That's true.
It's a party game.
Well, I'm sure it still would have gone like viral because the thing is, it's actually been out for like 4 or 5 years now. But it just had this like resurgence in popularity, and I think I'm sure COVID was part of it. And there were a couple like pro players of like Rainbow Six and stuff that started playing and tweeting and streaming it and stuff like that. So that kind of helped.
Any advice you would give to anyone interested in getting started on Twitch, getting into the industry as a whole, particularly young women who have an entire different set of challenges in entering a very male-dominated industry and culture? Any tips, advice?
Lots. I have, and I love it, especially I'm going to start with the whole like women aspect because that's a great one. And obviously that's a thing, that's something that's like very near and dear to my heart. And from the beginning of my career, I have always, so, you know, as a computer science major, I have always kind of found myself being like a woman in a male-dominated scenario. And, you know, because I grew up playing video games. So a lot of times, like, you know, the boys I was hanging out with they were boys. You know, the kids I was hanging out with were little boys often. And then in college, you know, all of my fellow students, many of them were men. And then into the game industry now, once again, not as many women. And so I've always naturally sought out the other few like women. Like I remember I didn't stick with it, but I was in like a women's engineering sorority for like one quarter. And then in one of my first forays into the game industry as far as like a work capacity was I worked for the Frag Dolls, which back in the day were Ubisoft's team of all-female professional competitive gamers. So they used to compete on titles like Rainbow Six. I think they would compete on like Halo as well. Later on, they kind of transitioned to being more of a marketing team, but still it was like a really cool women in gaming thing. And they had this sort of internship program almost. So I did that. I was part of that, met a lot of amazing women in the game industry through that I have like remained friends with. And like, you know, it was just a really cool networking tool. So that is my main sort of advice is like, seek out those other women. Like you have to form those friendships with women, and also like realize that, because like I think that a lot of times women are sort of taught growing up this almost competitive, like we're almost conditioned that like a lot of things are like a zero-sum game, you know, or that's kind of how I saw it, is like, okay, well, if, especially being like on camera and everything like that, okay, so if this other girl gets this one hosting job, that's a hosting job that I do not get. You know? Right. Like, it's so toxic and you cannot operate like that. You cannot work like that. Like, the women that do work like that, they don't work for very long. So
be supportive and
of other women.
Collaborative.
Be genuinely happy for your sisters, and like genuinely, like if someone, even if it's like a job for a game that you really wanted, things don't last forever. It's like a rotating door of like opportunities. Like I've been bounced around from so many different titles, back on the same titles again. Like just because you see a girl hosting for a game that you want to host for does not mean that like she is taking your only opportunity. And especially with the way things are going, where it used to be, okay, let's have, you know, a bunch of people who know the game, and then, oh, well, we should probably have a woman on there just because.
Yeah.
Now they're
diversity.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Now they're finally like, oh, let's have people who know the game, and oh, look, some of them are women. Kind of thing. So just because like, you know, just be supportive, be genuinely happy for, you know, for them.
Cool. Well, I feel like this is a topic we could probably spend another 45 minutes
to an hour. I talk so much.
No,
it's my job to talk, so I talk a lot.
No, this is great. And of course, I think people can follow you on Twitch and different social platforms, find out more information about you. I know you write some pieces on these kinds of topics that are really important to you. So follow Jess. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. If anyone wants to check me out on Twitch, it's just twitch.tv/Jess. And then pretty much all my social media other than that is just my first and last name, Jess Brohard.
Cool. So. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.